Last Saturday night, it was Best Western Plus, quality in and suites night at the races on Oswego Speedway, and hot laps would start under sunny skies with a new driver in the pit area, Brian Sobis, back in the Pathfinder Bank SBS division, driving his own home-owned number 6 machine. Of course, Sobis, the former driver of the Mike Murphy number 60 Super Modified, back to his roots in SBS competition. Hot laps would hit the Speedway, the SBS Series first on track, and at the conclusion of their session, the first rain shower of the day would hit the racetrack. We had a heavy downpour for about 25 minutes, but in under a half an hour, the racing surface was dried. And during super modified hot laps, we had a chance to catch up with Andrew Schartner, who has had a tough start to the season, including a cut tire last week.
It's been a rough start to the season so far. Basically, just one of those deals. I think everyone goes through them, and we got ours right now. I cut a tire down. I got into an incident with Harith down in 1 and 2, and I don't know if that's what initially started it. I nicked the hub rail too, but the tire went down. I think Jack said he saw it going down, but prior to that, I never saw it. I just felt the vibration at the last second entering turn 3, and then that was the end of it. Into the foam, I couldn't do anything to slow it down, but it happens, unfortunately.
With a 25th place finish 1 week ago, Schartner will look to capitalize on an upfront starting position this week at the Speedway.
That's the one positive is with the handicap and the way the track looks to be green, if we have on-off showers, I think we're going to be all right. We got a good setup. As for wrecking the car last week, we're right back close to where we need to be. You know, the guys did a heck of a job. Awesome job getting it back together. Obviously, I get to play down in Charlotte all week, so they did a good job getting it to where it needed to be. We'll be all right. It's going to be tough. You got Sobis back. Russ is fast every week. We just got to do our homework. We'll be good.
We also had a chance to talk with SBS rookie Jeremy Pitcher before racing got underway Saturday as he continues to learn the ropes of asphalt racing at Oswego Speedway.
It's been okay. It's a big learning curve. Kind of set lofty goals coming here and doing pretty well in the Fall Classic, but we're just trying to get a handle on the car before we get the new one ready. But we're getting better each week. The car's getting faster. Last week, lap times were pretty good and it was very racy. I'm used to a loose car on the dirt, but this car's been super loose up till last week, like I said. Just trying to figure out my points of entry into the turn, picking up the throttle, getting off the turn. It's a tough place.
With 3 weeks into the SBS season, Pitcher earned his first right to start up front at the Speedway.
We're excited about that. Kind of been hurting ourselves points-wise with the heats. We've been finishing in the back. It's tough starting in the back. There's a lot of good cars. It's tough to pass. But we're looking forward to getting to start a little further forward tonight.
Well, with what sunshine was left onto the Speedway, the Pathfinder Bank SBS Series would hit the racetrack for heat racing action. And in heat race number 1, young Anthony Lacerdo, the 15-year-old high school student, would lead early on. That was until the 67 of Mark Castilia found the back bumper of the 1 machine, then the 74 of Mike Bond, collecting 5 cars up there in corner number 1, including Robbie Pullen and the 13 of Russ Brown. Brown was given his spat back on the Speedway, so he would inherit the race lead ahead of Schartner. The 99 of Dennis Rupert ran 3rd, but that was until Lacerdo found the bottom side out of corner number 2. He would move up into position number 3, bringing Mike Bond with him into a handicap qualifying position as they battled for the right to start in the top 12 spots in the main event later on. But out in front, in the FX Caprara Car Company's car number 13, it was all Russ Brown running on to his first heat race win of the season ahead of Schartner, Lacerdo, and Bond in the top 4 at the end of heat race number 1. Qualifying heat 2 had a ton of action, and Jeremy Pitcher in that number 14 machine started on the outside of row number 1. First week, he was able to start up on the front row, and he jumped immediately out into the race lead over the 07 of Justin Connell, the 57 of Danny Apt, as the 24 of AJ Burness and the 22 of Mike Bruce run side by side. They would run 2 deep for 3 rows for several laps until Jason Simmons found the inside of Mike Bruce, cutting the right front tire down on that machine. Brian Sobis would know where to go, would go up and over the back bumper of the 98 car, ripping the tail off of the Nice Price Auto Sales car number 98. Simmons would bring out the caution flag, but he would come right back onto the Speedway and immediately found the top side. Looking to the outside of his teammate J.J. Andrews in car number 93, he next would set his sights on the 24 of A.J. Burness. Again, everybody trying to get into the top 4 positions for their handicap qualifying spots. And shortly after, Simmons would next find the low side, getting under Burness to move up into position number 4 behind Bruce and Danny Apt. Well, Apt, another rookie on the Speedway, had a great run going all day long in this heat race until eventually he would get freight trained to the inside as the entire field moves their way to the low side, knocking Apt out of a handicap qualifying spot. A tough break for the 57. Out in front in the TNT Motorsports, number 14, Jeremy Pitcher, by nearly a straightaway, wins his first checkered flag in an SBS machine at Oswego Speedway. Qualifying heat race number 3 would be the next order of business for the SBS Series, and Dalton Doyle in car number 01, who has had a rough start to the 2013 season, had a podium finish 1 week ago. He jumped out to the early race lead in this qualifying heat ahead of Josh Kerr, Scott Schaefer, and Jack Patrick in car number 9, but eventually Craig Harrith would work up into position number 3, and he worked on the 8 of Kerr for several laps, but would not be able to make the pass as Doyle goes on to his first heat race win of the season over Kerr, Harrith, and Jack Patrick. Novella Super Modified heat racing action would be next onto the Speedway as the sky started to darken just a little bit with Timmy Snyder and the 3 of Brian Sweeney in the Arise Ride for Rams car number 3. And Sweeney, making his return to Super Modified racing after nearly a 10-year absence, would jump out into the race lead, and he would immediately check away in this one over Snyder, Holbrook in the 35, and Tim Devendorf in the 5. As Holbrook would eventually make the move to the low side of Snyder to move up into the runner-up position, Holbrook would try to chase down Sweeney, but he was unable to do so, leaving a tremendous battle behind him for third between Snyder, Dave Danzer in the 52, Dave Gruhl, Mike Barnes in the number 99, and the 5 of Tim Devendorf. And Barnes would eventually work his way up and underneath the 5. He would next chase down Danzer and Gruhl. Out in front, Brian Sweeney, running a lap of 16.6 seconds, would return to Oswego Speedway victory lane in qualifying heat racing action over Jeff Holbrook in the number 35. Dave Gruhl would come home in third, Michael Barnes in fourth. In the number 99, Timmy Snyder would round out the top 5. Qualifying heat race number 2 for the Super Modified Series would see Cody Graham in the 21 and Jeff Locke in car number 37. Starting up there in row number 1, Jerry Curran, back after a devastating crash just 1 week ago. He made the repairs to the number 24. Here as he looks to the inside of the 37 of Locke as they battle for that runner-up position just ahead of Otto Sitterly in the 7 and Hal Tulip in car number 56. But unfortunately for Curran, he just can't seem to get himself out of a bad position here as the 37 of Locke gets down into corner number 1, gets a touch sideways, overcorrects, and finds Curran in corner number 2. Both of those cars would be hooked off of the Speedway, and that would leave Cody Graham and Otto Sitterly out in front for the remainder of this one. Sitterly would work Graham to the high side several times, but Cody would hang on in the Extreme Chassis, car number 21, his second Novella Super Modified heat race win of the season. Third and final Novella Super Modified heat race of the night saw Pat Lavery and Brandon Bellinger in row number 1. Lavery up front, of course, in the number 22. After that blown engine that they suffered 1 week ago, Lavery was out for the night, so that'll put him up on the pole here for heat race number 3. He checked down in the lead in this one. Sean Goslin in the 26. He was a man on a mission, moving to the inside of Bellinger to move up into that runner-up spot. In the 26 machine, Bellinger would stay high, allowing the 55 of Keith Champagne, the 51 of Michael Muldoon to get by as well. Gosick would try, but was unable to do so. Lavery would pull out in front. Goslin actually would begin to close ground just a little bit, but Lavery would run away and hide in this one, getting the win in the Lighthouse Lanes number 22 over Goslin in the 26, Champagne in the 55, and Muldoon in car number 51, concluding heat race action. Central New York's fastest racing action continues in the month of June. Saturday, June 8th, it's round 2 of the Shea Concrete Steel Palace ISMA Super Series at Oswego Speedway, presented by Crop Production Services. See the cars and stars of the ISMA Super Modified Series circle the Steel Palace at over 140 miles per hour. Plus, the road to the championship continues for the Pathfinder Bank SBS Series. It's the Steel Palace ISMA Super Series, Saturday, June 8th, Oswego Speedway. Inside Oswego Speedway is brought to you by Novelis. Not just aluminum, Novelis aluminum. Pathfinder Bank, local community trust. Eagle Beverage, we bring the beer to you. Oswego Bike Fest, riding, rocking, and racing Oswego Speedway. And by Best Western Plus Quality Inn and Suites of Oswego. With the threat of heavy showers quickly moving into the area, the Pathfinder Bank SBS Series main event was quickly rushed onto the speedway immediately following the Novellis Super Modified heat races. And as you can tell from the sky, we were quickly on a race against time to try and get the main events in this evening. So the Pathfinder Bank SBS Series quickly would pick up the green flag with Anthony Lacerdo in the one machine and Josh Kerr in car number 8, starting up there in row number 1, Jeremy Pitcher and Dalton Doyle in row 2, Mike Bruce and Andrew Schartner back there in row number 3, and it would be Kerr from the outside of row number 1 in the 8 machine, pulling out into the early race lead with Lacerdo in tow, and Pitcher quickly works to the inside of Doyle to move into the 3rd spot. Well, young drivers in the race cars quickly showing veteran speed as they would pull away from the rest of the pack early on. Josh Kerr and Lacerdo in the one machine, nearly a half straightaway lead in the early going in this one, ahead of Pitcher and Dalton Doyle. The race's first caution would wave early on for the number 19 of Nathan Noto, and that would bunch up the field. And the drivers quickly could tell that the skies were getting even worse, knowing that this one may only go 15 laps to be a complete event, as Lacerdo would continue to apply the pressure to the 8 machine of Kerr with Pitcher, Doyle, Bruce, Jack Patrick, and J.J. Andrews in tow in car number 93. Russ Brown in the 13 machine started to find the outside of the speedway, but that was until he hooked bumpers with the 9 of Jack Patrick. They would lose several spots in the process. Caution flag, however, would not wave for that one. Well, back up front, Lacerdo finally found the bite he needed to the inside out of corner number 4, making his way underneath the 8 machine of Kerr, but at this point, some sprinkles were actually starting to fall on the speedway, and Lacerdo does an amazing job to keep it off of the inside hub rail. Caution flag would wave. Lacerdo would be given his runner-up position back as the yellow lights had already come back on. The cars would take a few laps under slow speeds to work some heat back into the speedway, and before long, the green lights would be back on one more time. And just like before the caution, Lacerdo again finds the speed to the low side. In corner number 1, the 2 cars make a little bit of contact. Kerr's able to keep it going as they head down the back chute side by side. Lacerdo, just 15 years old, looking for his first career win in his rookie season. But coming out of corner number 4, Kerr and Lacerdo touch, and the 1 car takes a hard ride into the outside main straightaway wall. Kerr would also be involved. Jack Patrick would tag the inside hub rail as well, and that would end the night for both Josh Kerr in the 8 machine and Lacerdo in car number 1. And as it turns out, it would end the night for everybody. The skies would then open up at this point, as you can see here from our speed shot on the front straightaway, the racetrack quickly becoming saturated, and by 9 o'clock it was deemed that we would have to hold off the main event until next Saturday night. And that is exactly what we'll do. Coming up on Saturday night, June 15th, Century 21 Galloway Realty Night at the Races, featuring double features, 150 laps of feature racing for only $15. Plus, our Entergy driver autograph session at 5:15 and the Grossman St. Amour Make-A-Wish Foundation 2-seat super modified ride, all coming up Saturday, June 15th, a night you will not want to miss at Oswego Speedway. Central New York's fastest racing action continues in the month of June. Saturday, June 8th, it's round 2 of the Shea Concrete Steel Palace ISMA Super Series at Oswego Speedway, presented by Crop Production Services. See the cars and stars of the ISMA Super Modified Series circle the Steel Palace at over 140 miles per hour. Plus, the road to the championship continues for the Pathfinder Bank SBS Series. It's the Steel Palace ISMA Super Series, Saturday, June 8th, Oswego Speedway.